Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to meeting number 584, the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Council. There's no business prior to the meeting tonight, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the adoption of the minutes from meeting number 583. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Noel, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? No business arising. Move into the disbursement report. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report dated November 6, 2023 in the amount of $1,523,349.93.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer. Second by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, move into committee reports. First up is Community Services. Deputy Mayor Brown, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Services Committee met 5 p.m. Monday, October 30th, 2023, and those in attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, and Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance were Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services, and Steve Goss, our Director of Corporate Services. First order of business was the Community Grants Review. The committee discussed community grants criteria in 2023 as it pertains to groups running tournaments but not registered with provincial sports bodies. The Director will review the guidelines and report back to the committee, but will ensure all current criteria are met by the applicants. Medical community event. The Director informed the committee about a planned event for some medical staff on November 25th, 2023. The committee recommends councillors register online and attend. Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium opening. The Director informed the committee that the stadium is on schedule to open November 13th. Exploits Regional Curling Club. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Exploits Regional Curling Club. It was recommended that the club receive their annual community grant and that the Director set up a meeting with the club once the 2024 season is over to review their financial status again. At 6 p.m. we invited guests from the Exploits Regional Chamber of Commerce. The committee had a general discussion with the Chamber on past and future activities of the club. The Chamber Executive discussed the ongoing work on the new website, membership survey, the development of a new business directory and a new strategic plan, and the continued promotion of the Shop Local campaign. Deputy Mayor Brown suggested that there be quarterly meetings of both groups to ensure that the partnership continues to grow and foster relations on shared interests such as the proposed wind energy development. The Director also suggested sharing material on each other's websites and Facebook for better promotion of events, projects, and grant opportunities for our local business sector. The committee recommends that staff coordinate periodic meetings with the Chamber and Council to ensure proactive communications are maintained. Indian River High School correspondence. The committee reviewed the thank you letter from Indian River High School and commended town staff for their efforts to make the Provincial Girls High School soccer tournament happen with limited time to prepare. The Director informed the committee that the staff did an amazing job and that the tournament went off without problems. Association for New Canadians. The committee reviewed the request from the Association for New Canadians for a community organization grant to help with the multicultural celebration of Diwali. It was recommended that staff work with the association on their light festival by lighting up the town hall during the week-long celebrations, and that we provide them with the requested grant as per our community grant policy. Community Services Program Update. The committee reviewed the list of special events that the Community Services Department have carried out or are planning for the coming months. The committee was impressed with the variety of programs and services offered to the public, and we're pleased that there is something for every age and interest. Parade Motorcade Guidelines. The Director informed the committee that the staff have developed a draft set of guidelines to ensure any town-sanctioned parade motorcade follows the same set of rules. It was recommended that the Director review the proposed guidelines with the municipal enforcement officers to finalise them and present them again in a future meeting. And in other business, the committee had some discussion about ongoing work at the cross-country ski trail. The Director informed the committee that the trail maintenance should be completed in the coming weeks and the facility will be ready when the snow arrives. The committee has some discussion about wheelchair accessible parking spots at Windsor Stadium. It was recommended to work with the Public Works and Development staff to add an additional parking space near the main entrance. The committee has some discussion about alder growth along the trailway. The committee recommended that the Director meet with the Public Works and Development Director to coordinate some brush cutting this season or be added to the 2024 work schedule. The Director informed the committee that Midwinter Biver is scheduled for March 8, 2023, and that promotion will start in the coming weeks. The committee has some discussion on the Health Accord and the social determinants of health and the importance of including some tasks within the Community Services Department's goals and objectives for 2024. The Director informed the committee that the season ticket sales for the senior cataracts have been well received, with over 350 purchased thus far, and with the first weekend game scheduled for November 18th and 19th. The committee encourages the public to come out and support the team and the new Central West Senior Hockey League. The meeting was adjourned at 7:50 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the community services minutes? Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to take a second to reach out to Indian River High and say thank you for their thank you to us. I thought that was kind of cool. All too often you see too many communities in competition, et cetera, and quite often Newfoundlanders have a bad habit of bringing each other down. But it was just nice to see that. I mean, yeah, they needed some help in town of Grand Falls-Windsor, and community services crowd pulled together to pull off their event for them, and their little video went above and beyond just to say thank you, and that's, honestly, it was really nice to see.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I agree. I'm sure everybody agrees. Thanks for that. Any other discussion, comment on the community services minutes? Councillor Dwyer and Deputy Mayor.
I'd just like to thank the staff and your department, Nelson, for getting those wheelchair accessible parking spots done as quickly as possible. It was greatly appreciated, and I'm glad to see that the paint was down before we got the snow. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Just a reminder, everybody, that the Cataracts home games are this week and their first home games of the season. They'll face off against the Deer Lake Red Wings Saturday night, 7:30, and Sunday afternoon at 1:30. And they hope to see a big crowd out there, and it's good to have the Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts back in action after a few years of missing that event every other weekend. So look forward to a big crowd, and everybody get out, go Cats, go.
Yeah, well said, and I think the games thus far, I'm told, have been close
They all
amongst the
have.
teams and that, so
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to be competitive, which is always important.
It is.
Any other comments, discussion on the community services minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Public Works and Development. Councillor Cody, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Development Committee met on Wednesday, November 1st at 5 p.m. In attendance, myself as the chairperson, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Dave Knoll, Councillor Holly Dwyer, and Councillor Andrew Little. Staff, Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development, Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services, and Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer. Water quality. The committee had further discussion on the recent water quality concerns of some citizens. Town staff have completed some additional work to alleviate problems and continues to investigate all areas affected. Initial meetings with a consultant have also occurred, and they have commenced work in reviewing the town's distribution system. In addition to this, they will update the water model for the town and provide a detailed flushing program to use in the future. The committee is pleased to see progress in some areas and looks forward to the consultant's report. The committee has requested a meeting with the consultant early in the review, and staff will arrange. Public Works reports. The committee was updated on the latest Public Works reports on work completed to date. Overall, there was an increase in production, and most concrete work for 2023 was in sidewalk repairs. Seasonal layoffs have occurred in early October, and some work slowed down in preparation for winter season. Fleet is also outfitted with snow clearing equipment in preparation for snow events. Rezoning request, Community Center. The committee reviewed a request from staff to rezone a parcel of land between Grenfell Heights and the Trans-Canada Highway west of the Scott Avenue overpass. The current zones are Comprehensive Development Area 1 Zone, CDA-1, and Rural Zone, RUR, and the request is to rezone the Commercial Highway Zone, CH. This will facilitate all future planned developments in this area, including a new community center and other commercial properties. The committee recommends this be approved and staff commence the rezoning process. Development regulation amendments. The committee reviewed a request to amend the regulations to allow shipping containers as a discretionary use in the public use zone, PU, for an accessory building, which is currently prohibited. The committee recommends that this be approved and staff commence the process. Development regulation adoptions. The committee was notified that the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs has completed its Section 15 review under the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000 and has released the documents for adoption for the following: Municipal Plan Amendment Number 3, 2023, regarding 166 to 168 Main Street rezoning; Development Regulations Amendment Number 4, 2023, regarding 166 to 168 Main Street rezoning; Municipal Plan Amendment Number 4, 2023, regarding Cromer Avenue rezoning adjacent to Shannon-Diddy Centennial Field; and Development Regulation Amendment Number 5, 2023, regarding Cromer Avenue rezoning adjacent to Shannon-Diddy Centennial Field. The committee recommends these be adopted at the next Public Council meeting and to schedule the public hearing for December 7th at 7 p.m. with Mr. Brian Blackmore as Commissioner. 2024 budget. The committee was presented with the 2024 goals and objectives for the Public Works and Development Department. The committee also reviewed the proposed 2024 budget for the department along with the 2024 capital request and the 5-year capital plan. The committee recommends this be added to the full budget document for further discussion at a future committee meeting. The meeting adjourned at 8:50 p.m. I move the recommendations and the report of the committee.
Okay, been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Discussion on the Public Works and Development minutes. Councillor Cody.
Thank you. Just a note on the rezoning for the community center. While there has been no decision made on proceeding with the community center, we know that we have this parcel of land in mind and a location for the community center. The rezoning process is a lengthy process, so we wanted to have that process at least started so that if there is a decision to proceed with a community center, which again is a ways out, there's been no decision made. We are still in the initial talks, about that center. There are some conceptual drawings and things like that done just for an idea, which helped in us deciphering and deciding what parcel of land would be needed to do that type of community center if that moves forward. So again, there's no decision on the community center, but we do need to start taking some steps to make sure that if and when we decide to go ahead with the community center, that at least the initial groundwork is completed, so that we don't have any further delays, because if it does happen, it's going to be a long process as well, just from construction phases and things like that. So we're just starting that rezoning request just for time's sake. And just one more comment on the water quality. Still some social media posts on water quality. And while we appreciate that the residents, use social media to notify, we do also need them to please call our office to let us know. We will send somebody to get a sample of your water so that we can do our due diligence as well. A lot of times a councillor will see the post, or someone from staff will see the post, or someone in the community will see the post and share it. that could be hours or even days after the original post. So if you are experiencing discolored water, please reach out to the town dispatch 489-0420 or 489-0430 after hours, so that we can get it recorded and so that we can send staff to your area to make sure that we get a sample. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the Public Works and Development minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, we do have some resolutions and a discretionary notice to take care of, Councillor Cody, so when you're ready.
Thank you. GFW 2023-376, Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, resolution to adopt Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Municipal Plan Amendment Number 3, 2023, and Development Regulations Amendment Number 4, 2023. Under the authority of Section 16 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the Town Council of Grand Falls-Windsor adopts the Amendment Number 3, 2023 to the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Municipal Plan. Under the authority of Section 16 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the Town Council of Grand Falls-Windsor adopts the Amendment Number 4, 2023 to the Grand Falls-Windsor Development Regulations 2022 to 2032, and I so move.
It's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the first resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. Councillor Cody.
GFW 2023-377, Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, resolution to adopt Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Municipal Plan Amendment Number 5, 2023, and Development Regulations Amendment Number 6, 2023. Under the authority of Section 16 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the Town Council of Grand Falls-Windsor adopts the Amendment Number 5, 2023, to the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Municipal Plan. Under the authority of Section 16 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the Town Council of Grand Falls-Windsor adopts the Amendment Number 6, 2023 to the Grand Falls-Windsor Development Regulations 2022 to 2032, and I so move.
Okay, moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the second resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. And the discretionary notice, Councillor Cody.
Thank you. Discretionary use notice, 113 Main Street Daycare Center. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor has received an application for a child care center at 113 Main Street. As with the recent request for a daycare center at 1 Maloney Street, this application is also time sensitive. Government funding for child care centers has a deadline for submissions that is fast approaching. A child care center is identified as a discretionary use within the commercial downtown zone in the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Development Regulations 2022 to 2032. Adjacent property owners were notified via email and mail out. The notice was also advertised on the town's social media page. Response deadline was noon, Friday, November 10th, 2023. The Public Works and Development Department did not receive any objections or concerns, and the recommendation from this department is to approve the discretionary use. I so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the discretionary use notice? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? And that's passed. Okay, up next we move into corporate services. We do have two sets of corporate services minutes. Councillor Dwyer, I'll get you to go with the main ones, I guess, first.
Following are the minutes for corporate services held 5 p.m. Monday, November 6, 2023. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Dave Knoll, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Bob Hiscock, and Councillor Andrew Little. Staff in attendance were Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, Pete Windsor, Manager of Finance, Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, and Steve Gosser, Director of Corporate Services. Labor Report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 43. Total labor was $3,106,047. This was $339,946, or 10% under budget. The committee is pleased with the results of the labor budget and recommends that staff continue to monitor labor costs heading toward the end of 2023. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $1,523,349.93 and recommends this be presented at the next council meeting. Accessibility Act NL. The committee discussed recent legislation that requires public bodies to have an accessibility plan, which involves consultation with persons with disabilities and related organizations and setting up an accessibility advisory committee. The committee recommends staff use a consultant to prepare the accessibility plan. Donation requests. The committee reviewed a request from the Canadian Cancer Society for support towards its One Night Stand Against Cancer fundraiser to support Daffodil Place. The committee recommends donating $500 towards this fundraiser. The committee discussed a request for support from Miss Newfoundland Labrador pageant for donations towards its event in 2024. The committee recommends against providing a donation to this event. However, any individuals from Grand Falls-Windsor who take part in the event may be eligible for a travel grant under the Community Services Department. Municipal Enforcement Vehicle. The committee reviewed a quote for a municipal enforcement vehicle which was received as a result of a tender. The quoted price was for a 2024 Ford Interceptor and cost $76,774 plus HST. Council originally approved a budget of $73,000 for this vehicle based on prices for 2022. The committee recommends proceeding with the purchase of this vehicle. This meeting recessed from 6 until 6:30, and Deputy Mayor Brown left the meeting during this time due to a perceived conflict of interest. Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development, and Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services, joined the meeting at 6:30. Budget 2024. The committee reviewed the initial request for Budget 2024 as prepared by staff. This included the operating budget for all departments, including forecasted revenues and expenditures. This was the committee's first look at the overall budget and look forward to more discussions at future meetings. The meeting adjourned at 9 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the first set of corporate services minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. And for the second set, Deputy Mayor will excuse us. And when you're ready, Councillor Dwyer.
So these are the minutes for corporate services held 6 p.m. Monday, November 6th. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Dave Knoll, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, Pete Windsor, Manager of Finance, Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, and Steve Goss, our Director of Corporate Services. Correspondence. The committee discussed correspondence from a local group called Concerned Citizens Central regarding the Grand Falls Golf Course's application for Crown lands. The committee recommends that staff respond to the correspondence on their behalf. Request from Grand Falls Golf Course. The committee discussed a request from the Grand Falls Golf Course for the town to provide a temporary guarantee on their recent funding from BDC. The golf course recently received a letter from the government indicating that they will have the title to the land once certain conditions are met. However, this was not enough for BDC to release the funds under their funding agreement. The temporary guarantee will be in place until the golf course meets the conditions and obtains clear ownership of the land. The committee recommends providing a temporary guarantee on the Grand Falls Golf Course's BDC loan and for the Director of Corporate Services to have the authority to enter into such an agreement on behalf of Council. The meeting adjourned at 6:30 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the second set of corporate services minutes? Councillor Dwyer?
This was discussed in our last council meeting, and I think you explained it well, Mayor. But the golf club requires short-term assistance, and with regard to their irrigation project, which is almost completed, I believe, because a land issue arose after a title search, and it was discovered that the land on the front 9 was not owned by the golf course. And when Abitibi, it was Abitibi land, and when it was expropriated and Abitibi dissolved, then it became Crown land. And the lender can't release or won't release funds until they secure ownership, and that could take several months, we understand. So we do have a letter from the government stating that this is going to happen, and we don't believe that there's any risk to the town, and we support their application, and that's the explanation for that.
Yeah, and anybody who hears about Crown Lands or knows anything about it knows that that can be a tedious process, and thought it was funny that they were playing golf on it for 100 years and they didn't own it. But it's just for clarity, the town of Grand Falls-Windsor doesn't deal with Crown Land requests at all. We do get asked if there's something within our boundary for, input, feedback, that sort of thing. Other than that, we have nothing to do with it, and it's a provincial government Crown Lands issue. So we are awaiting that, and it's good assurance to have the letter from the minister that says that it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And we'll wait for that, which I'm sure will happen. Okay, so any other discussion on the second set of corporate services minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Retrieve the deputy mayor, please. Okay, Deputy Mayor, when you're ready, we will get into committee of the whole minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Minutes Committee of the Whole meeting, 5 p.m. Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Those in attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Dave Knoll, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, and Councillor Bob Hiscock. Staff in attendance, Darren Chin, my apologies, Darren. Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services, Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services, Nelson Shepard, Director of Public Works and Development, and Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer. Correspondence from James Penny. The committee acknowledges correspondence received from James Penny on November 2nd, 2023, regarding his property at 374 Grenfell Heights and property on 4 Vine Street. The committee has no recommendations at this time. Request for support from Grand Falls-Windsor Bishop Falls Community Food Bank. The committee discussed correspondence from the Grand Falls-Windsor and Bishop Falls Community Food Bank requesting a donation. The committee recommends a donation of $1,000 be provided. Request for donation from Make-A-Wish Foundation. The committee discussed correspondence from the Make-A-Wish Foundation requesting a donation. The committee recommends that a donation of $275 be provided. MEO report, basketball nets on roadways and sidewalks. The committee reviewed a report from the Municipal Enforcement Department about their work getting basketball nets removed from roadsides and sidewalks across town. 23 locations were identified, and all were given notice of a violation and the requirement to remove the nets from the public's right-of-way. All properties identified will be given notice again next week, and any basketball nets still in the public right-of-way after November 20th, 2023 will be removed by the Public Works and Development staff. The committee supports this course of action and recommends proceeding. Correspondence from Grand Falls House Foundation. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Grand Falls House Foundation about redeveloping the facility. The committee recommends that staff have a meeting with the Grand Falls House Foundation Board of Directors to discuss possible ways forward. Correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Case, Bank Road. The committee reviewed correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Case about ATV traffic and Bank Road. The committee recommends that staff meet with the Cases to discuss this concern. Budget. The committee reviewed a revised draft budget for 2024. The committee recommends that changes discussed be reflected in the draft and that the budget be discussed again at the next committee meeting. The meeting adjourned at 8:45 p.m. and I'll move with the recommendations report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Dwyer. Any discussion on the committee of the whole minutes? Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to take a second just to discuss the basketball nets on the sidewalks, as it's been a thing of mine, since elected. And coming down this evening, it was pitch black, and as I came over the overpass, what should I see, with a gentleman in a wheelchair, and he had a fluorescent vest on, he had a little light on the back of his wheelchair. And, a lot of people don't, or take it for granted, I guess, but, if community citizens just randomly park their vehicles on sidewalks, well, we say, well, you're not allowed to do that, and quickly an MEO would be there to give us a fine. And some people say, well, what's the concern and all? I mean, what's the big push, that sort of stuff. But you got to appreciate the fact that there are more and more people in our community who, have accessibility issues, and the sidewalks are there to keep them safe, so they're not out in the vehicles, not out in the right of way in the traffic. And so I want people to take it a second, and they might not think it is a big deal. Yeah, it's a basketball net. But when it's affixed and it's bricked in and it's there all summer long, well, it's an obstacle. And I want citizens to really take time to think about what to do. I appreciate the fact that the kids are out and getting some exercise and not stuck on an electronic device at home. But please keep in mind all those who have some accessibility issues when you put your basketball net out there. Only takes a second to tip it back in at night when you're done. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, I guess people with, strollers and that kind of stuff as well have
Absolutely.
some issues there. And as you said, it's not anything to do with against the basketball. And I'm sure if the kids wanted to put their nets out there and play some basketball and then pull it in after,
Absolutely.
out of the way, excellent. But the problem becomes, of course, to get left out there without seeing any activity, sometimes for days and weeks at a time. And that's what we're trying to address there, so well said. Any other comments on the committee of the whole minutes? Deputy Mayor.
Just a note there on the letter from the Bank Road residents about their ATV use on Bank Road, and it's really not a noise issue. With the case, it's a danger issue. There's quads and ATVs traveling up Bank Road on a one-way street going the wrong way. There's a bit of a blind hill as you get to the top of the Bank Road, so they're concerned, along with the noise and other things, is a safety issue. They're frightened that somebody is actually going to get hurt. And like I said, it is a blind hill, so if your kids are driving ATVs or dirt bikes, just express to them the importance of safety and not going the wrong way up a one-way road with a blind hill, because it's just an accident waiting to happen. Very unfortunate, and we look forward to meeting with the Cases in the near future to discuss that.
Yeah, it's just one example, of course, of many streets in town that we have the safety issues with ATVs. And incidentally, I had an opportunity to meet with the Premier this Saturday past, and that was one of the issues that I brought up to him. Again, mainly with regards to the former Abitibi property and being able to open that up to have access for ATVs and side-by-sides, even if we don't have the entire property transition or parts of or an agreement in place, because it has been and continues to be a complicated process. To be able to have that right away to keep the ATVs and side-by-sides, et cetera, off our roadways. I mean, it's sad to see when you're on Lincoln Road and you look across and you see a fence, and on the other side there's a flat piece of land that could easily be used for a quick right-of-way from the trailway, which a lot of people would appreciate. So we have, of course, brought that up in the past, but again, that was a issue that he encouraged us to keep up with, and that he would be talking to the minister about trying to see if we could get something done. And of course, Bank Road is not necessarily going to be rectified by that, but at the same time, I think if we have our ATVs, the access route across the land, it would alleviate a lot of the safety issues in town, which we know that we do have. Okay. Any other discussion or comment in the committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none, just a quick point on the food bank. Of course, it's that time of year, and I know, you know, every time of the year is important to give to the food bank, if you can. But with Christmas upon us now and the weeks are counting down, we know that there are a lot of people who avail of the community food bank, more and more all the time, and certainly more than what we had seen years ago and in previous years. So if you are in a position that you're able to give to the food bank, please do so. Monetary donations are accepted, as well as non-perishable food items, and I'm sure other items are needed as well, specifically for Christmas, if you wanted to contact the food bank and get their suggestions and work with them. Okay, so if there's no other comments, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, move into notice of motion. Any notice of motion? No notice of motion. We will move into other business, and other business tonight. Up first is Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items, Mr. Mayor. Saturday, of course, was our Remembrance Day celebration, or service, I should say, at the Senate. That was well attended. And on behalf of officers and members of Royal Canadian Legion, thank everybody for attending, and also all those who wore poppies throughout the last couple of weeks throughout the campaign in remembrance of those fallen, and we thank them for that. Keep Christ in Christmas Walk is Sunday, December the 3rd at 2 p.m. from St. Joseph's Parish, and the organizing committee are asking people to bring a non-perishable item with them, and the walk will take place at 2 o'clock. And then back to the St. Joseph's afterwards for a social time. So that's on Sunday, December the 3rd. And talking to, of course, Chief McKenzie, the other day we had the honorarium for our firefighters. And Chief McKenzie stresses to everybody, it's time to change your batteries and your smoke detectors if you haven't already done so. And this is time that we're starting to burn water for our heating. Keep your chimney cleaned. If you're not quite sure of what's going on with your stove, you have some troubles, phone the fire hall and they'll send someone down to help you out whatever way they can. Also, last week myself and a couple of members of our staff, Lawrence Ducey and Michael Lewis, toured the Marathon goal site. That was very interesting. It was a great day. Very interesting to see this project on the ground floor, starting to ramp up. It was a great day, and big thank you to the Marathon Goal people, because they treated us like, pardon the pun, but treated us like gold. But yeah, they rolled it the red carpet for us. They had a great meal for us, and I was sort of disappointed that I wasn't allowed to take home samples. But, so on the loss of just an absolutely fabulous person. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, and I had that noted as one of my only things to mention tonight was George, because I knew him well over the years. He was in his late 90s. Yeah. And, you mentioned the volunteerism and that, but just a true gentleman, and certainly someone who loved to have a chat and enjoyed his community and liked to get out and watch the ducks out in Rushy Pond, to drive out that way or down around Cordray Brook. And, he'll be sorely missed, and he was sharp right up until the end, by the way. And very active, 96, yeah. So, sad passing there for sure. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor Brown mentioned the cataracts are back this weekend, which means our Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium is open, and we'll be having adult and preschool skating Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Preschool skating is 9:15, adult skating is 10:15, I believe, around there. That'll be posted on our Facebook and our website going forward, and those schedules are set, and if they change, they'll be posted, right? Yeah, so those schedules can be followed. So we'll have some consistent skating during the week for some people. Today was World Diabetes Day. Town Hall was lit up blue in support. So it's an awareness day. So one of the things the World Diabetes Day information they want to get out there is 10% of people worldwide have diabetes. When we look up stats in Newfoundland, it's actually much higher. So in Newfoundland, we're up to 36% of people either have diagnosed or pre-diabetes, which is like more than 3 times the world average, right? So the World Diabetes Day hits home for us more than most places. So it's something that we need to be aware of. And people need to be, if they're not feeling well, they need to get to doctors and figure out this is what's doing it, because it's very, very high in Newfoundland, diabetes. And the only other thing is we have some of our family programs, registrations are open. So we have similar, such as Tots and Tykes and preschool play. They're open for registration now. They're posted on our Facebook and most likely our website. So if people want to partake in those things, they're great programs. They usually sell out. So if you want to take part in those things, you have your family take part. It would be wise to register soon. And that's all.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned the skating. Of course, skating is free of charge, eh? And I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but it's important to note that all our skating, family skating, parents, tots, etc., is free. So get out and enjoy. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start off by thanking Ruth Down Robinson, who was a member of our Healthcare Coalition. Ruth and I and Mark Power worked on the physician recruitment and retention part of the health court, and she was a very valuable member, very dedicated, enthusiastic, and she will be resigning after 2 years, and we're certainly going to miss her. So I'd like to thank Ruth. Speaking of physician recruitment and retention, at the MNL convention, one of the speakers was Megan Hayes, Dr. Megan Hayes, who is the ADM for healthcare recruitment and retention, and had an opportunity when Deputy Mayor Mike Brown was with me there at the convention to speak to Megan, and we invited her here to our event that we're going to be hosting this month for physicians and their families, and so we hope that she's able to attend that. The provincial business case competition is being held in Grand Falls-Windsor this coming weekend at the College of the North Atlantic. 11 teams here from across the island will be competing, and this competition's been ongoing for about 15 years now, so look forward to that event, and hope the participants have a good competition. It's since COVID, this is only the second competition. Last year was certainly a growing part of the event because we didn't have any students who had participated before. So 11 teams this year. That's quite an accomplishment for them. The other thing that I want to remind people is that if you haven't already registered with Patient Connect NL, you should do that, because that's where they're going to be getting their patients, the roster from which they're going to assign patients to the family health care team. So it's important, if you haven't registered with Patient Connect NL, that you do that if you don't have a family physician. The last thing I wanted to talk about is there was a Facebook post. I didn't actually see the Facebook post, but I did see what the post was about, comparing Grand Falls-Windsor's mill rates to other communities on the island. And so, for example, and this is more difficult to explain verbally than it is visually, but bear with me and see if I can help educate. So CBS, for example, has a mill rate of 7.3. Paradise has a mill rate of 7.4. Gander has a mill rate of 7.6. Mount Pearl has a mill rate of 7.7. Grand Falls-Windsor has a mill rate of 8.5. However, it's not like you're comparing apples to apples, because our average residential assessment is much less. For example, in Gander, the average household assessment was $243,000 in 2023. In Grand Falls-Windsor, it was $186,000. So when you multiply the mill rates by the household assessment, then obviously you're going to get a lesser amount with a lower household assessment. And so in Grand Falls-Windsor, when you compare us to Gander, and we're always compared to Gander, in 2023, the average household taxation was $1,849. In Grand Falls-Windsor, it was $1,587. So I just caution people when they see things to question it. If anyone has any questions, you can certainly contact me or anyone at the town hall to discuss. But, you know, it's important when you see something that you're able to look at it critically and understand what is being said there. So, thank you.
Yep, no, thank you. It was, it's important to have all the information, I guess, and when it comes to the average assessment, I've talked about this before in council over the years. You can't just look at mill rates and say because your mill rate is higher, that you got higher taxation, because it's not the way it works. And if you want to move into communities like Mount Pearl and CBS, you know, in Mount Pearl, CBS, the house, average household is over $300,000.
339 apparently.
Yeah, and we're looking at 200,000. So for them to have a 7 whatever mill rate, they're getting a lot more taxation because their average value's up. So, you know, as you said, just make sure you got all the information, and there's always a full story to be available. It's not usually available on Facebook.
True.
All right, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on Councillor Hiscock's, speaking of the Memorial Day services this past Saturday, and a great event at the Legion that night, sold out, the biggest crowd they've had in quite some time. But leaving the Memorial Grounds that morning, I could only reflect on what it must have been like back in the day when these men and women signed up to go fight for their country and the world. Sitting at the table back in the early 1900s and with mom and dad, and all of a sudden 10 o'clock you're out through the door going to fight for your country and going to fight to save the world. I think when it comes to heroes, that set the bar for heroes. We all got heroes. My hero was Bobby Orr back in the day. But the real heroes are those men and women who, past and present, offer their services to go fight and save the world. So I'd just like to get that message across that the real heroes in this world are those men and women who go and fight for their country and fight to save the world. On a brighter note, the Santa Claus Parade is going to take place December 2nd here in Grand Falls-Windsor, starting at Main Street at 10 o'clock. The committee is tremendously pleased with the response from the community thus far. We're bound to see a very successful and very exciting Santa Claus Parade. I know the nursing students, Councillor Dwyer mentioned earlier that they're walking in the parade as well. I think there's some extra floats. Councillor Cody said her department at provincial government are putting in a float. So the people of Grand Falls-Windsor can look forward to the Santa Claus Parade on December 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. on Main Street. And throughout the parade there will be free hot chocolate served. And here downtown at the parade's end, we're hoping to have some carolers available, and like I said, very well attended in previous years, and congratulations to Wanda Healy and her committee for putting that together as well. I'd also like to acknowledge Deidre Liver. Deidre is in January, will be going to Vermont to play hockey with St. Michael's College. And the first female hockey player from Grand Falls-Windsor to play in this D1 hockey league. I spoke to Councillor Little about it before the meeting, and that's an impressive league. It's the highest league for female hockey within her age group. So congratulations, Deidre. And Councillor Little also said something else, is that she plays recreation hockey here throughout the winter with Councillor Little and his friends and that kind of stuff. So very talented hockey player. So good luck, Deidre. We'll be following your career as it moves on, playing D1 hockey in Vermont. And that'll be it for me, Mr. Mayor, I think, for today. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Cody.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of reminders. We did have snow event already, which I know I wasn't happy about. I'm sure there were a lot of others who weren't very happy. But so our equipment is out. Just a reminder that while we're trying to be as careful as possible with our snow clearing equipment, there may be some damages caused to lawns. So we're asking to please, if you normally do so, or if you're so inclined, you can use markers to mark the edges of your lawn so that we make sure that we don't do damage to your property, or at least try not to do damage to your property. There's no guarantees because it's very large equipment, and sometimes it's it's difficult to not do the damage that you see with lawns being torn up and whatnot. But if you mark your property, then that will certainly help us to make sure that we don't do any unnecessary damage. Sidewalks and roadways are slippery. We do have equipment out, but again, we can't be everywhere at once, so it takes time. So just please drive with caution. Watch for kids crossing the roads, going to school. Look out for black ice. Just be extra careful. And our overnight parking ban does run from November 1st to April the 30th, from 12 a.m. or 12 midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning. That's not every night. I think we need to be clear about that. We don't want you to park on the roadways during that time because the snow could come at any time. But if there's nothing in the forecast, we're not driving around doing patrol, giving out tickets because you're parked on the road, and it's a beautiful night and the moon is out and there's not a flake of snow in sight. We're not going to give you a ticket for parking on the road. However, if snow happens to be not forecast and comes quickly and you're parked on the road, then chances are you're going to get a warning or a ticket. So if you can avoid parking on the road during this time frame, we would appreciate it. But again, we're only going to give tickets if your vehicle is impeding our snow clearing operations. So we encourage you not to park on the road just in case there is a weather event. But if we know for sure there is going to be a weather event, we encourage you to please park in your driveway or find another area to park in your neighbor's driveway if they have a larger driveway or whatever, just to avoid getting a ticket. And on a more positive, happy note, we are into the holiday season, even though it's November the 14th. Holiday events are starting to pop up, Christmas events. If you follow the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Facebook page, we're sharing as much as we can. But there's also tons of other pages and group pages who are sharing their events. So there's several choirs in town who are having their Christmas concerts. The Queen Street Dinner Theater is having their show from December 3rd to the 9th. You can get tickets for that. There's, I don't know how many craft show and holiday markets I've seen advertised in the last couple of weeks that are coming up. So there's no need to, shop elsewhere. We can certainly shop local. You can get everything you need here or at the market. They have tons and tons of beautiful items for sale. So make sure you check out as many of those markets as you can if you're so inclined. The Happy Tree, Salvation Army Happy Tree kicks off on November the 16th at the Exploits Valley Mall. And there's caroling at Church Row Park on December the 10th. I think I wrote that somewhere. I think it's December 10th. Anyway, the Salvation Army is at Church Row Park. That is on our Facebook page. And Tim Hortons, you mentioned the food bank, Mayor. Tim Hortons has a holiday smile cookie this year, and all proceeds from the sale of the small cookies is going to the Grand Falls-Windsor Bishops Falls Community Food Bank. So another little nice incentive to enjoy a great little cookie and support the food bank. So anyway, thank you, Mayor.
If the one I decorated doesn't have a smile straight, don't blame me. Mine, I had half the icing on the floor, I think, last year, so not my forte. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. It's kind of a conflict of interest, I guess. There, we're talking about it's nice to support the local food bank with a small cookie, but the first thing on my list was the same thing Councillor Little had mentioned. I was going to talk about World Diabetes Day again, and everything's in moderation. If a cookie takes me off the planet, well, there's worse ways to go, right? I just wanted to mention, down in high school, I'm talking about the students all the time in biology class, when sadly it seems like, New Flanders used to be a robust, outgoing, very active group of people, and times have changed, I know, and we've got a lot of electronic sitters, and more teenagers today see less and less sunlight on a weekend than we'd like for them to see. And according to some stats that I was just given, like Central Newfoundland has surpassed the Western Avalon as the number one or the highest rates of juvenile diabetes in the province. So it was concerning, and I had a great discussion with students today. So I just want to remind the moms and dads out there, think about what you're giving your child when they're packing your lunch. Lots of times I'm on duty and walking around and I see a number of kids and they have Fruit Loops for lunch, and it's really not a good lunch to have every day. Every day is Fruit Loops. So, start putting some effort into healthy eating. Encourage your children to get out and get some exercise and some of this fresh air and some sunlight on them. Maybe even get a sunburn. It might be worth it just to offset some diabetes possibilities. So I really wanted to emphasize that because it is serious. And if you know somebody's with diabetes, the implications down the road are very, very significant. So the sooner we can curtail this rise in diabetes here in Central Newfoundland, the better we're all going to be, because it has significant personal health, let alone community financial aspects as well. But on a brighter note, I want to take just a second just to thank the Public Works and Development team again. The community looks so good all summer long, and we had a couple complaints about a bit of long grass, and it was just one of those seasons. I mean, very, very hot and muggy. But if anybody's taken the time in the spring when the trees on High Street are in bloom and just at sunset, and I've done it a couple times just to drive by and just to drive up and down High Street, because it is a very beautiful street, and I just want to take a second to thank the superintendent and his crew for a remarkable job all summer again. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. Just got a couple things there. So I guess one thing I was going to mention there with regards to the markers on the lawns. I think it's important for residents to know that by our regulations, you're required to have markers if you expect the town to take care of any damages. It clearly states that if your lawn is not marked, then the damage is not responsibility of the town. So I'd encourage people as well to get out and get their property marked, because it does help as well, especially with early snowfalls. You can't really see where the windrow is, and it's difficult to determine for the plow operators. A difficult job anyways, but early in the year even more difficult. Also wanted to, a couple other things just to add on to, some mentioned about Christmas and that, and you mentioned some of the events that are going on. And we also got our own events, of course, with the Random Acts of Kindness coming up and the Give Back Days that we have in December every year. So stay tuned to the town's Facebook page, and all the events, scheduling, special days will be found there, and get out and take part where you can. Also, just back up on the point that Deputy Mayor made, and I'm glad you mentioned the Remembrance Day, because every time I'm there, I was out of town this weekend and didn't make it. First time, I can't remember the last time I missed the Remembrance Day, but every year I do the same, is thinking about how hard that they must have had it. If it was a bit of rain and wind and that, but even more so, this day and age, when you look around the world. And I know everybody says, imagine if you, and I don't know how many people really imagine, but how lucky are we to live where we do and have the freedoms that we do. Everything else aside, we've got freedom to go out and enjoy sports, to go out and enjoy the outdoors, to go to schools, to go to your choice of religious shelter. You can do really whatever you want because of the freedoms that were fought for. And when you look at people in Ukraine and now Palestine, and really wars have been going on forever, and they continue, and I'm sure they will perpetually continue. But how lucky are we? And it was those people who went, and many didn't come back, who fought for freedom. And glad Deputy Mayor brought that up, and it is something that really, I try to sit back and think, what if I was in Ukraine right now? What would I be doing? Or in Israel or Palestine? So that's important for everybody, I think, to take into account these days. Last thing I've got is the Badger Diner are going to have a giveaway of sorts. Lillian, who is who owns the Badger Diner, located here in Grand Falls-Windsor now, of course. On December 17th, they're going to have a giveaway of dinners, stuffed chicken breast, all the fixings, tea and coffee, dessert, and they're going to give it away to 100 65 and over seniors. And they want it to be 65 and over seniors who live on their own. You know, nothing against the ones in the homes, but they've provided food every day. So if you know a senior, if you are a senior that lives on their own, 65 and over, all you have to do is call the Badger Diner and put your name on that list, and they will serve 100 stuffed chicken breast dinners free of charge on December 17th. And they had done it previous years, turkey dinners on Christmas Day. But they decided to back it up a week and take their own Christmas Day off this year. And so I want to make sure that the message gets out there to anybody you know, especially who could use it, you know, because really when you get things like this, you want to make sure that the people who get in that 100 are the ones that could really use it. And I think that's the spirit of Christmas. So just contact the Badger Diner. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Any last comments? If not, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Little. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. See you next time.